Hi there, welcome to the channel, and welcome to the middle of nowhere. This is a Minecraft world with one layer of bedrock at the bottom, 2 layers of dirt in the middle, and 1 layer of grass at the top. That's it. There are no villages, meaning no wood, water, lava, stone, or anything. When faced with this challenge, one might think that they can't make any progress, but I beg to differ. Because starting from nothing, I'll get wood, water, iron, villagers, and at the same time, make the coolest space possible, starting from day 0 all the way to day 1000. So, day 0, the moment I loaded into the world, I turned on the mod that helps me see slime chunks of land that spawn these greenhouse style creatures called slimes. After that, I went down and dug for dirt, a lot of dirt. I kept mining until the morning of day 1. I got out with 18 stacks and ran around killing animals for raw food, but also wool. I killed throughout the day and into the night because wool is needed for something I need to build, so I need to kill all animals to allow for more sheep to spawn. In the morning of day 2, I had everything ready. I looked around for a big area without any slimes, and once I found it, I began building the mob farm. This pathfinding mob farm design is made for this challenge only using dirt and carpets made from wool. Long story short, the mob's AI can't see the carpets right here because they don't fill up the entire block. So when the mobs tries to walk on these blocks, they fall to the ground where I can kill them. When the farm was done, I stayed there until the morning of day 3, where I jumped off, set my render distance to 2, and realized the drop chute was too short. The mobs aren't taking enough fall damage for me to finish them off in one hit. Instead, they're taking 3 to 4 hits to die. I just extended the drop chute down to bedrock. The 3 extra blocks now make mobs a 2 hit, which is good enough, and I sat in a hole for the night. On day 4, a wandering trader spawned. Wandering traders, WandyT for short, have an 8.5% chance of dropping a milk bucket. If you kill him, in the 2 seconds he holds one during every sunrise. I can use that milk bucket to sell it to another WandyT for 2 emeralds, and if I sell 3, it would be enough for any sapling. I trapped WandyT in a box, hit him until he's half a heart, and waited all night for me to kill him in the morning without a milk bucket. Don't worry though, because I am going to use the method of saves, aka backups. I kept using the same one over and over again until WandyT finally dropped one. Day 5 to 7 was just killing monsters. On day 8, I killed some pillagers that spawned nearby, but went back to killing until day 10 when I expanded the monster farm hole, finishing on day 12. Day 13, I went back to killing. Day 14, I killed more pillagers. Day 15, I killed more monsters. Day 16, I went out killing animals because on day 17, I began working on a sheep pen. See, I'm not getting wood for at least the first 100 days, so in the meantime I'd like to do something. That's when I remembered sheep. Flowers can be crafted into dye that can dye sheep for them to be sheared for that color of wool. Shears can be obtained by using 2 iron in our crafting grid, which I've been getting from the 1 in 120 chance of a zombie dropping them. Days 17 and 18 were spent collecting sheep. On day 19, I used my mod to create a big hologram of a circle around the mob farm. See, in Minecraft, there's a 128 block radius circle where a limit of 70 mobs can naturally spawn around the player. In the Superflat world, slimes are spawning a lot where they fill up the mob cap as they call it, hurting the rates of our mob farm. Setting our render distance to 2 just makes the game forget any mobs outside our render distance, letting the mob farm run. This circle lets us see where slimes are spawning while running the farm, which is going to be the outline of a big circle made of carpets using the wool from my sheep farm. Also, on day 19, a WandyT spawned, letting us get another milk bucket. Day 20, I began to outline the circle and shearing sheep, a routine I fell into until day 24 when I finished. Using this circle, I can now slime-proof the slime chunks inside. In Minecraft, mobs can only spawn on the top part of a block, so other non-full blocks like chests, bottom slabs, and carpets that are lower can't spawn any mobs. By putting carpets in this pattern, the carpets obstruct all slime spawning, slime-proofing a chunk, which is what we're going to do for all chunks in this circle. I dyed all my sheep into light gray, sheared them for 3 days straight, and began the deslimification of my base. For every day I fought slimes, I spent 3 days getting the wool until day 36, when I slime-proofed the last chunk. With that done, I began on another circle, which was only made to kill time. A 48 block radius circle telling me where traders can spawn while I'm on the mob farm. For this, I colored the sheet blue on day 37 and worked on it on day 38. Day 39, I still had an extra light gray carpet, so I slime proofed some more. I was also able to finish the trader circle. On day 40, I killed monsters for iron to make more shears, and when I was in a hole for the night, 1DT spawned, getting me my third milk bucket. Day 41 to 45 was just killing monsters. Day 46, I finally got bored with monster killing and I just waited in a hole for 1DT to spawn for days 46 to 48. Day 49, I got out and killed monsters, but immediately got bored with that and went back to waiting for traders for days 50 and 51. Day 52, I came back to a trader, but he didn't have any milk bucket trades, and I already have all of them, so I killed him. Day 53, I used the iron from the mob farm to make more shears to get more colors of wool to decorate the mob farm. I dyed all my sheep red, orange, and yellow so I can give the walls a little more color. After accidentally spending all of day 54 in a hole, on day 55 I was surprised to hear 1DT again, who had the milk bucket trade. Sadly though, you can only trade 2 milk buckets at a time, so I still need another one. Days 56 and 57, I continued until I was finished on day 58. On day 59, I got more dyes to make the drop through a rainbow. Sort of. Cyan, green, and lime dyes are only obtainable through the traders, so I need to skip those colors, resulting in this weird rainbow finished on day 60. Days 61 and 62 were spent at the mob farm thinking about what to add next, when on day 63, I got it. I'm going to cover the ugly bedrock floor with carpet. I made all my sheep white with some blue and light blue, and by day 65 I was done. Also on day 65, 1DT spawned in the middle of a field of mobs, and although the llamas died fighting the mobs, 1DT lived and I got the last emeralds. Day 66, I put this floor pattern into the sheep pen. Days 67 and 68 were spent in the hole, probably thinking about what to do next. Day 69, I bone mealed around the base to get more flowers to make more dye. Day 70 was spent in the hole, again. Day 71 was spent adding red to the 1DT circle. Same with day 72. Day 73 I was adding yellow. Day 74 I finished the yellow. Day 75 was spent killing monsters. Day 76 and 77 I made the rainbow do whatever you call this. Day 78 and day 79 were spent at the mob farm. At this point I ran out of things to do, so starting day 79 I will sit in this hole until 1DT spawns. On day 96, you can see this pie chart on the right side. It tells me what entities are in my rendered area, and at this moment, 1DT spawned. It took another day for me to notice, but once I did, I broke out, 1DT fell in, I looked at his trays, and saw that he had moss. Although moss isn't a sapling, it can get us wood. I just didn't mention it because getting one sapling trade is a much greater chance of getting moss. Well, now I have access to wood. 3.5 minutes after getting the moss, another 1DT who spawned fell into the hole. The second 1DT had sugarcane, which isn't useful now but will be in the future. On day 98, I placed the moss, bone mealed it, and bone mealed little trees, making wood. I crafted a crafting table, chests, and tons of swords to kill monsters better. I also made a bed and slept for the first time. Days 90, 99, 100, and 101, I used my new wooden swords to kill monsters all day. Day 102 was spent in the sheep pen for no reason. Day 103 I was back to mob farming, same with day 104, and all the way to 113. I wasn't doing all of this for no reason, but to get iron for a cauldron. A cauldron has a chance of filling up with 1 layer of water every rainstorm. Once the cauldron is fully filled, we can extract the water with a bucket. On day 114, I finally got enough iron to make a cauldron, placed it down, built his little defense, and went back to mob killing. On day 117, I tore down the sheep pen. Day 118, I fixed the 1DT circle, and day 119, I began to work on my own house. I went for a circular shape with a carpet design inside. Day 120, I made the walls with wood logs and bone blocks from bone meal from skeletons. Day 121, because I didn't have access to glass at the moment, I just used fences. Day 122 was spent entirely collecting wood. Days 123 and 124 were spent making the ceiling. Day 125 was spent thinking about what design the roof will be because I didn't want to go for a basic cone shape. Day 126, I decided on a kind of arc shape. Over days 127 to 130, you can see the design slowly coming out, and by day 131, it was finished. Days 132 and 33 were spent killing mobs for 3 iron to make a bucket. Day 134, I set my character in this hole overnight while the cauldron fills up. I left my computer on after I went to bed all night, all morning, and a little bit into the afternoon. By that point, it was day 189. Over 18 hours of AFKing was more than enough time to fill up the cauldron. On day 190, I used bottles from witches to fill the cauldron with the water I had. The water will be used for the next goal of mine, a better mob farm. If water covers a block, then no mobs will spawn on it. So if we cover a big area with water and put a mob farm in the middle, because the farm is the only place where mobs can spawn, it will spawn loads, and water can easily be used to cover a big surface. Day 191, I flooded a big area to the side of my base and got it done the same day. Day 192, I was collecting azalea trees for wood when Wani T spawned in with cherry saplings. I was originally going to use those azalea trees to make wood to build a mob farm, but using cherry would be much easier. Days 193 and 194 were just chopping trees. Day 195, I was going to continue chopping trees when I saw the trees I planted were spawning lots of mobs. Trying to kill all of them proved to be difficult, so I resorted to making openings in the leaves so it wouldn't be dark enough to spawn mobs. By day 196, the situation was dealt with, and I continued chopping trees until day 199. By the end of it, I had 10 stacks of logs, which can make 4 stacks of wood each, more than enough. On day 200, I began construction. By day 202, I was finished with the mob farm and its 2 layers, and it works pretty damn well. On day 203, I bought chests and beds to the mob farm so I can stay there for days 204 to 209. Day 210, I was back to base to destroy the old mob farm, but before I can do that, I needed for one more thing, copper. If a zombie stays in water for around 30 to 40 seconds, they will turn into a drowned, and a drowned has a 11% chance of dropping copper. I put water in the drop chute, waited for them to convert, and killed them. I only wanted 3 copper, but it still took until day 211 for me to get all of them. Day 212, I tore down the mob farm. Even though I had 3 shovels from the other mob farm, it still took me 3 days and my life to take it all down. Day 215, I left space for a smaller hole in the middle where a pig pen will be. Why do I need pigs? Well, along with the copper, they're part of the long process of getting villagers. If I put pigs in a confined space with a lightning rod made from copper in the middle, once a thunderstorm happens, it will strike the pigs, turning them into zombie pigmen. Pigmen drop gold, wait for Wani T to sow oak saplings, I get apples from the oak tree, craft them with the gold into golden apples, and use those to cure zombie villagers to get regular villagers. Much easier said than done. Getting Wani T to sow specifically oak saplings is going to be tough, and thunderstorms do not happen often. 216, I finished the pig pen. Day 217 and 218, I went to the mob farm to get an iron ingot so that on day 219, I can craft a saddle. Same day, I tamed a horse and used it to bring a couple of pigs back home. Day 220, I grew as many carrots as I can to start breeding pigs, and I got a bunch of dirt to make them into mud for the next build. In the intro, I said I'm going to make the coolest base possible, and now it's time to start on that. To start off, I wanted to turn everything inside the Wani T circle into a big courtyard with mud bricks lining up paths around the pig pen. Day 221, I turned the dirt blocks into mud by splashing the dirt with a water bottle. I collect all the mud, farm a bunch of wheat, craft the mud and wheat together into packed mud, use the packed mud to craft them into mud bricks, and craft them into mud brick slabs. Day 223, I created the pathways. I used my mod to create circle schematics so the paths can be as perfect as possible. Day 224, I used tons of wooden shovels to make the grass into actual path blocks. Day 225, I collected moss carpets because I thought the base floor would look better with moss carpets lining the mud brick slabs. Day 226 was the same thing until Wani T came by selling me pumpkin seeds, so I did business with him. I did trade my water bucket though. Day 227 was breeding pigs and getting all the moss carpets. Day 228 was just running around until a thunderstorm, which would have been great, but I had nowhere near enough pigs to get enough gold, so this one had to be skipped. Day 229, I began on the next build. Although I don't have villagers now, I could prepare where to put them once I have them. Obviously, like with any world with villagers, I need a place to put them in tiny spaces for the rest of their lives. So our next build is the villager trading hall. Villagers in Minecraft can have many different valuable traits depending on its profession block. Of the 13 blocks that give a villager a profession, I can only get 7 of them. If you haven't realized, there's no lava in this world and no way to get it, so stone is an unobtainable item. The villager trading hall is a big weird octagon split in 2. Each of the 6 sides has 17 spaces for one villager profession. If you're wondering where the 7th one will be, it will have its own special place in the future. Now you're probably wondering how I'm going to take this structure in a creative world and build it in survival. Well, the answer is another mod called Litematica. What Litematica does is give you a holographic blueprint of what you want to build. Although this mod will make things easier, I still have to collect all the resources to build this. I try to get iron for an iron axe on days 230 and 231, but it will take forever for me to get 3 iron. I just resorted to the wooden axe. After cutting down this big cluster of trees for days 232, 3, 4, and 5, I still had about 1/3 of the wood needed. Day 236, I made the regretful decision of planting all my 2 stacks of cherry saplings across my base, which, if you didn't know, is a lot of trees and will get me more than enough wood for the villager trading hall. And by the way, it took 3 days to plant it all. Day 239, I realized my mistake. Cutting down over 150 trees will take forever, but I need to cut this all down. So I spent days 240 to 247 cutting down cherry trees. Day 248, one ET spawned in selling me black dye. I went to the mob farm to get bone meal and iron. The iron was used to make a bucket to sell to the trader, and the bone meal was used to grow wheat to sell hay bales. By the end of day 256, I finally finished cutting down all the trees and ended up with a lot more wood than I needed. But the grind didn't stop there. Day 257 to 260 was just collecting mud for more mud brick slabs. Day 261, I got the wheat to make mud brick slabs. Day 262 was collecting bone meal, so on days 263 to 65, I can farm oak wood. Day 266, I had to turn all the logs into stripped logs by right-clicking them with an axe. The method I thought of to do that the fastest was to make a tall log tower and strip them as I'm going down. Day 268, 1DT spawned and got 2 extra emeralds from him by trading hay bales. The last thing I have to do before building is dig out all this dirt. These red blocks are blocks that are in the way of the schematic. Day 271 I was finished, and day 272 I made sure to pass all the blocks that will end up inside the trading hall, because similar to carpets, it stops monster spawns. Day 273 was the first day of building. Now something I should mention is that one cool thing about Litematica is that you can place blocks easier. From days 273 to 278 I was just building until I finished both sides. Day 279 I found out that mobs were still spawning inside, and 1 ET spawned, giving me 2 more emeralds from the hay bale trade. I also had a big realization. Up until this point, I thought torches were impossible until villagers come around, meaning no mob proofing until then. But I just remembered redstone torches, made with the redstone dropped from witches, which I have accumulated tons of over the challenge. Day 280, I dealt with the mob problem and lit up the trading hall. Redstone torches are half as good as regular torches, so I made sure to place as many as possible. These numbers on the ground tells me the level of brightness a block will be during the night, and any that say 0 can have monsters spawn on that block. Days 281 and 282 was more lighting. Days 283 and 284 were connecting all the paths together, finishing off the courtyard for the time being. Because there were no paths beyond the trading hall, on day 285 I collected more mud for slabs to extend the pathway on both ends. The main reason was because I was going to create the sheep pens. In Minecraft, there are 16 colors of sheep, and I want a pen for each one. All the sheep pens are going to be in a big circle formation surrounding the base. After spending a couple hours finding out how to perfectly space all of them out on a copy of the world, I spent day 288 on the actual world digging them out. On the right side of the screen, I have a list of 16 coordinates on where the center of each pen will be, and from there I create an outline of a circle. Just the outline part alone took 3 days. Days 292 to 295 was just digging out all the pens. Days 296 to 299 was spent getting iron for shovels, which did help, but I still wasn't finished yet. After using up all my iron shovels on day 301, I went back to the mob farm to get more. I was getting pretty lucky and was planning to go back to digging the next morning. I was completely thrown out the window when I heard thunder. It was a thunderstorm, meaning it was time to get gold. I beelined for the base because thunderstorms can only last for a few minutes. I ran into the pig pen, led all the pigs near the lightning rod where they all got zapped. Then I made a dumb mistake. I tried putting out the fire, but I hit one of the pigmen, so they all killed me. Lightning can delete items if they get struck on, so hearing thunder again wasn't a good sign. Luckily, the few items that did survive was my iron, so I can still make my shovels. This should be good enough for all the gold I need, so I went to sleep. As I woke up on day 302, I noticed 1 ET spawned, but first, I need to know how much gold I got. Just a reminder, in order to get 2 golden apples to cure 2 villagers, I need 16 gold ingots. I Got 14. I need another thunderstorm. I try to take my mind off that by trading with 1ET, getting me 2 emeralds and beetroot seeds. Because of how many I have, I decided to get my water bucket back for 3 emeralds, and a pufferfish with it too, I guess. I then saw the weirdest sight I will ever see in a Minecraft world that I never knew was possible. Another 1ET spawned while the other one was still in the world. Day 303, I traded with the other 1ET for more emeralds and killed them both. I went back to the mob farm for more iron because I forgot about the 3 that I already had. After grinding for the entirety of day 304, on day 305, I arrived back with 4 more iron, an insane haul. I realized I had 3 iron already, so I just made 7 shovels. Surprisingly enough, 7 shovels was still not enough. I was still using wooden shovels on day 308 when another 1ET spawned but didn't have anything good. Day 309, I finally finished digging. Once I was done, I got all the extra cherry wood from when I cut down all those cherry trees to make the pens look nicer. Day 310, I finished that and collected carpets of every color I have access to and dyed some sheep black for black wool. Day 311 to 313, I used all those carpets to color code the sheep pens. Day 314 to 316, I added moss carpets along the sheep pens, and on day 317, I added pathing around the pens. I pathed a big circle around each of them until day 323 when I created a big circle that crosses over each of them to use as an outline for the paths connecting them. Day 325 I still had extra mud slabs from building the trading hall, so I used all of that for the new paths. It wasn't enough. So I went to the mob farm on day 326 for bone meal, so when I got more mud on days 327 to 331, I could craft it all together for more mud slabs. With that, I was able to finish on day 333, but there's still one more thing I wanted to add. So I repeated the whole process again over days 334 to 338, just without the collecting part because I still had mud left over. Day 339, I meticulously crafted the perfect amount of mud, brick stairs, slabs, and fences. It wasn't enough, so day 340 and 341, I got a bit more mud. 342, I began building. The reason why I was collecting more mud and crafting the perfect amount of everything was to build a flag with a flagpole for each of the pen's color. 42 to 345 was just me making these flagpoles, which alone make the base look better from the courtyard, in my opinion. Day 346, I collected bone meal for wheat on day 347. Not for mud, but for breeding the sheep that I kept from when I tore down the old sheep pen. Days 348 and 349 was just breeding sheep, dyeing them, and then moving them into their pen. Day 350, 1ET spawned, getting me more black dye. I used that black dye to craft grey dye. Day 351 and 352, I was doing circles around the pens to collect wool for the actual flags. Day 353 was me standing in the house while the baby sheep in the pens grew up. Day 354 was my last day doing circles, and day 355 was working on the first few flags, with a reference picture of the flag that I designed in Creative on the right. Days 356 to 359 was building the rest of the flags. Days 360 and 361 I still had to collect wool of 3 more colors for the final flags built on days 362 and 363. The missing flags will be made once I have access to those colors. Day 364, I was stumped on what to do next. Just to have time to think, I switched out the light gray carpets used to slime-proof the base with moss carpets to blend in with the grass more. Day 365, I was still doing that when I realized I haven't made a sugarcane farm from that sugarcane I bought a long time ago. It will be useful for when I get villagers, so starting now will help. Day 366 and 367, I created the farm in this quarter of the courtyard. The water of the sugarcane farm is annoying because I don't want to jump over it and fall in it every time when using the farm, so I use leaves. These can have water in them, you can walk on them, and they blend in with the grass. The downside is that you have to collect leaves using shears that require iron. Day 370, I grew a bunch of azalea trees for their leaves. Cutting down the wood was annoying though. It took days 370 to 372. Day 373, I still had no idea what to build, so I tried mob-proofing the base more with redstone torches. In Minecraft, you can put carpets on torches and they can still let the light shine through. Day 375, I was done with lighting up all the sheep pens and began making another farm, the pumpkin farm. Pumpkins normally have manual farms that look like this, but I'm making this on a piece of land that is not square. So day 376, this looks really weird. Day 337, I finally got an idea on what to build next. As you know, the trading hall is for when I get a lot of villagers to put them there, but I don't have a place for them to multiply to actually get a lot, so the next build is going to be the villager breeder. The villager breeder will be built on the other end of the pathway, so I cleared out a few extra slime chunks on day 378. Day 379 was figuring out how to use my mod to make a line. Day 380 I gave up on that and just resorted to counting the blocks to make the 75 by 75 block perimeter using the wood that I got from when I needed leaves. And day 381 I finished and went back to the base where the pumpkin farm has been producing well. Day 382 I worked on a tall building shaped like a villager's head where the villagers will be able to breed. Day 383, the pumpkin farm grew to the point where pumpkins are growing constantly and each one can turn into 4 pumpkin seeds. I also ran out of wood, so this is a good time to get more. 384 and 385 was, once again, a sad attempt for an iron axe that failed. Days 386, 387, and 88 was cutting down all the wood and working at my farms where the pumpkin farm reached full capacity. Day 389, after working at the pumpkin farm, I went back to the perimeter to finish the building. Day 390, I was able to finish the walls. Day 391 and 92, I needed a bit more wood because I wanted to create a villager's eyes. I didn't have many blocks to use, so this is the best I can do. Day 393, I finished the villager breeder with some redstone torches. At this point in the challenge, I had run out of things to build to stall for more time. Throughout the building process of all of these, I was hoping that the 1DT would spawn with the oak sapling trade, but it never happened. So, on day 394, I brought 3 stacks of torches far away from my base and lit up an area. I was going to stay in a little hole for as long as I need until I get that oak sapling. Days 394 to 395 was carefully evening out the redstone torches. Day 396, I was done. I dug myself in a little hole and waited. Until I noticed I forgot my emeralds back at my base, so I went back to get them. I'm gonna be honest with you, that was very unexpected. The timing of that is insane. But I'm leaving this uncut because as I was going to get my emeralds, a thunderstorm. Wow, this thunderstorm was guaranteed to give me the rest of the gold needed because I only needed 2 more ingots. Day 397, I got my emeralds to trade with 1DT, getting me my oak sapling and even a spruce sapling. I planted both but was paying more attention to oak for the apples. Day 398, I had everything I needed to cure a zombie villager. To cure a zombie villager, Zillager for short, they'd need to be force-fed a golden apple under the weakness potion effect. Brewing a weakness potion is only possible by going to a dimension that I do not have access to, so the next best thing is witches. Witches, under these specific circumstances, will throw a weakness potion at the player. If the Zillager is also hit by the witch's weakness potion, the curing process will work, and the best place to find both mobs is at the monster farm. Day 399, I heard a Zillager drop down, so I closed the drop chute and tried my best to kill every other mob other than the Zillager to get him out. Unsuccessful. Just to make some progress, day 400, I decided to get the witch out first. Luck was on my side that day because I got both Zillagers out too, so now I could start the curing process, which will be very difficult. The witch, if not throwing weakness potions, will throw harming potions that will do over half of your health, or poison potions which will eat away at your health. It was most of the time both. And it's all bad when you consider that one of the conditions for a witch to throw a weakness potion at you is that you have to be above 4 hearts. It took a lot of deaths, but I was able to get that weakness potion and start the curing process. I quickly killed the witch, built a roof over them so that they can be protected from the sunlight. Day 401 was clearing the mess I made when trying to get the witch to throw the damn potion, while the Zillagers were just sitting there slowly being cured, until the process finally finished. I led the new villagers across the base into the villager breeder where they will stay for the rest of their lives. Day 402, I went back to the mob farm to fix it, and bring the beds there to the villager breeder, because villagers need beds to breed and I can't make new ones because I don't have shears. In the meantime, I gave the villagers some occupations like a farmer that buys potatoes for emeralds. Day 403, using all my bone meal, I will grow as many potatoes as I can. Using the potatoes, I traded them for lots of emeralds. Because I cured these villagers, they are giving me lower prices, like 1 pumpkin for 1 emerald, the whole reason why I made the pumpkin farm. Villagers, like any mob in this game, need food to create a child, but instead of force feeding carrots, it's throwing potatoes at them. By the end of the day, I was able to level up the farmer to max, unlocking one of the best foods in the game, golden carrots. Day 404, I turned the other villager into a fisherman. Not to trade for fish, but for campfires, that when broken drop charcoal that can be used to craft torches. That means I can now replace all my redstone torches with regular torches. Day 405 was just more lighting, and buying campfires for even more lighting. Day 406, still lighting around the base and harvesting sugarcane, making it reach its full capacity. I also lit up the villager square, as I'm calling it. Day 407, I saw the most wonderful sight, an iron golem. Killing one of these guys can give me 3 to 5 iron, much better than zombies. Using this iron, I was able to make shears for a bunch more beds in the breeder, and a smithing table for another very important profession, a toolsmith for tools. Day 408, I continued working with villagers and killing golems for iron. The toolsmith traded iron for emeralds, which sounds crazy even with golems, but it's the best way to level him up right now. I also turned a villager into a cartographer. The paper trade will be nice with the sugarcane farm. Also, that Wani tea that gave me the oak sapling is still there. Yes, they do despawn after a bit, but that's only if he's within the simulation distance of you. If he's outside that distance, then he can't despawn. I decided to buy his mangrove sapling and brown mushrooms. The rest of the day was just making the pumpkin farm look better. Day 409, still making the pumpkin farm look better, and also some trading and killing golems. I also got some really good trades like this enchanted iron axe and shovel from the toolsmith. Day 410, I leveled up the toolsmith enough where he was selling me diamond tools. With these diamond tools, I began to make an iron farm. Iron golems have been spawning because when there's 3 or more villagers together, it spawns an iron golem as their protector. So I will abuse this by making the golem spawn only to die to be harvested for their iron. The design I'm building is ENXO4's Day 1 iron farm on Day 410. Day 411 was still building the farm's design. Day 412, before finishing, I harvested enough iron for an anvil. And one cool thing about an anvil is that you can combine tools with enchantments for better enchantments. This got me a good shovel that can insta-mine grass and dirt. Day 413, I was trying to get the mending enchantment trade. Mending can allow me to repair my tools using experience, and the only way to get the enchantment itself is by resetting the trades of the librarian until he gives you what you want. This was the entirety of Day 414, and Day 415, I didn't get mending, but instead got sharpness 5 for 20 emeralds. There's no way I'm passing that up. This not only makes my diamond axe good at wood chopping, but also killing golems. Day 415 and 416, I killed monsters with this new innovation, iron swords. I also combined all the enchanted bows I got from skeletons into one powerful bow. Day 417, I was doing random things, like harvesting sugarcane. Day 418, I collected podzol for no reason, and had some fun with the anvil. See, these iron boots were dropped from a zombie long ago, but they were always at low durability, until I repaired them with the anvil. Same with this sword I made a few days ago. I spent the rest of the day moving villagers and a zombie into the iron farm, making it fully operational. Day 419 was spent getting emeralds because I was finally going to get mending. What instead happened was I got sharpness 5 again, but forgot that I already had a guy that sells me sharpness 5, so I bought it. Don't worry, once I realized that mistake, I made that villager drown in a hole. Day 420, I got some pants that a zombie dropped long ago, repaired them, and put them on. Okay, this time I was finally going to get mending, but I got hit with another important enchantment for cheap that I could not pass up. Unbreaking was one that I wanted for a while, and I put it on my iron armor. On day 421, I grew more potatoes for emeralds and carpeted the grounds to prevent golems from spawning anywhere except for the iron farm. Day 422, this time I'm going to get mending, and I actually did. I applied this to all my tools like my bow. I went back to the breeder for another trade when I got a mending trade that was cheaper than the one that I had. So on day 423 I killed the other one in favor of this one and destroyed all the carpets because golems are still spawning outside the farm. I decided that the pig pen had to go, so I killed the remaining pigs and tore it down. In its place was going to be this fountain I designed in creative. Day 424 to 426 was getting the resources needed to build the fountain on day 427. Day 428 was trading and putting mending on my axe. Day 429 was adding more beds for the villagers and breeding them. Day 430 to 432 was spent trying to get the efficiency 5 trade for my tools. The rest of day 432 and 433 was spent trying to get the protection 4 trade for my armor. Day 434 I added hoppers and chests to the monster farms to automatically collect the items, and spent the rest of the day getting experience levels to add protection to my armor. Day 435 was just more trading and checking on the iron farm. Day 436 I officially had the best armor possible in this challenge. Full prot 4 on breaking 3 and mending iron armor. Day 437 was collecting bone meal for day 348 collecting potatoes. It wasn't for trading, but for making an automatic potato farm. Day 439 was collecting the resources for and making the potato farm. This continued for all of day 440. Day 441, 1DT spawned in, but was killed by mobs. Great. After that, I lit up all the land between the trading hall and sheep pens. Day 442, I got the villagers in the potato farm to get it functioning. Day 443, I immediately started construction on the carrot farm that uses the same design. Day 444, I began making a map of my base. Carrot farm construction is slow because getting orange wool is slow, so I got more paper in the meantime. Day 445, I changed the red wool of the potato farm to yellow to match the color of a potato. I also leveled up a librarian to give me the glass trade. Cool, I can now replace my windows and add trapdoors as shutters. Day 446, I got back to carrot farm construction. Day 447, I finished construction, and day 448, I moved all the villagers into it, making it functional. Day 449 to 458, I left my character there so the iron, potato, and carrot farms can produce. When I came back on day 458, I checked all the farms and saw that they've been producing well. I used the new potatoes, iron, and carrots to get tons of emeralds. Day 459, I got back to making the map of my base to put it in my house. Day 460, I did more trading and got a new horse. Day 461, I got a name tag to name my horse Frederick blah 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 the 16th, and spent the rest of the day standing in my house. Day 462 was still standing in my house when I came back and went to sleep. Day 463, I found my old horse from over 200 days ago, but because my new horse is slightly faster, I killed the other one. Because I need item frames to frame the maps on my wall, I need leather. I can't find any cows, so I built a fishing farm to fish leather. I spent all of day 464 and a bit into 465 fishing, and then I got impatient. I checked and got one more leather, allowing me to fully map on my base. Day 466, I moved the map to the side because I'm going to map everything up to the mob farm. Day 467, I collected 2 cows that I left behind in case I needed them to breed. The cow pen will be a room below the fountain. Day 468, I traded for more emeralds so that on day 469, I can trade a librarian for the looting enchantment, allowing me to triple the drops of everything I kill. Day 470 and 471, I tried to get another enchantment, Smite 5, but instead I accidentally hit the villager, temporarily raising his prices. To wait for him to forgive me, I just killed mobs at the mob farm. Day 472, one of the rarest things that can ever happen to me happened. It wasn't multiple traders at once, it wasn't a thunderstorm, it was seeing a mob with blue armor. Meaning I got the 0.04% chance of a mob spawning with full diamond armor. A mob dropping diamond armor is the only way to get it, so getting a piece would be golden. I then killed it, thought it didn't drop anything, and saw that it dropped its chestplate. I killed all the mobs to prevent them from putting it on. I checked all of the chests. I got it. I got a piece of diamond armor, one of the rarest items in this challenge. I immediately went back to put all the enchantments on it and repair it. Day 473 was sitting around in random places contemplating what just happened. Day 474, I got back to the cow pen by decorating it and getting the wheat needed to breed the cows. Day 475, I finished the entrance, breeded the cows, and force-fed wheat to the children for them to grow faster. Day 476, I once again AFK to let the cows grow. Day 477, continued breeding cows and killing them, and by day 478, I mapped out all the land to the mob farm and spent the rest of the day and day 479 staring at it and making it my world icon. I shared the sheep to trade it with my new villager on day 480, the shepherd. He sold me paintings to decorate the breeder and my house. You might notice the tons of villagers in the breeder, and that's because it's now time to put the 102 villagers in the trading hall. My goal is to bring them there by minecart, which is why I made this rail. Day 481 was being AFK for procrastination, same with day 482, until 1DT spawned, getting me acacia saplings. Day 483, I realized my rail plan was dumb when I could just lead boats with villagers in them to the trading hall. The rest of the day was just putting villagers in the toolsmith section first. Day 484 and 485, I waited for more villagers to breed and grow up. Day 486, I just thought of a build idea to add to the trading hall. I collected light blue wool, spruce, and oak to make a pixel art of a pickaxe finished on day 487 over the toolsmith. The same day I worked on a pixel art of bread over where the farmers will be. Day 488 I made art of a fish for the fishermen. Day 489 I made art of paper for the cartographers. Day 490 to 491 I made art of shears for the shepherds, and I made art of leather for the leather workers. Day 492, 1DT spawned on my house where I bought drip leaf and firefly bush just for vanity. The firefly bush had this firefly ambience, so I hid one in the fountain to give it that ambience. I then went back to filling up the trading hall. By day 494, I finished with the toolsmiths and began on the farmers. By day 497, I finished with the farmers and began on the fishermen. Day 501, I moved the last villager into the fisherman section. Because I ran out of villagers, I waited in the villager breeder for 10 days. With these new villagers, I began on the cartographers that I finished on day 513, then the leather workers, which I finished on day 516. The night of day 517, I killed spiders to make looms for the shepherds, which I finished on day 521. The same day, 1DT spawned in with nothing new. Day 522, I crafted tons of chests and got tons of iron to create tons of hoppers on day 523. This was to create the wheat and beetroot farms, which require a different design from the potato and carrot farms. Day 524, I grew tons of beetroot using the one beetroot seed I got long ago. Day 525 and 526, I was busy trading potatoes, beetroot, and carrots to level up the farmers. Day 527, I traded for emeralds to upgrade the toolsmiths. Day 528 was just getting bone meal for day 529, collecting more beetroot seeds. Day 530, I put a villager with an inventory filled with beetroot seeds into the beetroot farm. Day 531, I began on the wheat farm with the same design of the beetroot farm. Day 532, I got all the wheat seeds. Day 533, I sat there. Day 534, I put a villager whose inventory is filled with wheat seeds into the wheat farm. And once that was done, I sat there for all farms to produce as much as they can in 4 days. Day 539, I got all the produce from every farm to trade with the farmers. Day 540, I traded paper to cartographers and more produce to farmers. Day 541, I used all the iron to trade with the toolsmiths. Day 542, I stood around for no reason. Day 543, I felt like my iron production was behind, so I built 2 more iron farms with the same design. Day 544, 1DT spawned in, who I bought an invisibility potion from him because it's rare. And I put the villagers and zombies in the iron farms into day 545. The same day, I collected materials to make the second layers to the potato and carrot farms on day 546. Day 547, I don't know why I keep doing this, day 548 and 549 was continuing the construction of the second layer of the potato farm. Day 550 was constructing the second layer of the carrot farm. Day 551, I put the villagers in the potato farm, and day 552 in the carrot farm. Once again, I made all my farms run for 4 days. I came back on day 556 and 57 just to path the entire perimeter, only to do more AFKing for 22 more days, and came back on day 570. Although that is a long time, it did allow all the farms to produce tons of iron and carrots and potatoes. Days 571 and 572 are just trading with villagers for emeralds, and I would have lots if the game didn't freeze, causing me to force close the game. That set back my inventory to 5 minutes before I got all those emeralds. This did end up with me getting less emeralds to level up all my villagers, but I had an idea. What we are going to do is a raid. This ominous potion dropped by those pillager scouts can, once drunk near villagers, will send hordes of pillagers to your area. If you're able to fend off these pillagers without everyone dying, then you are awarded with the hero of the village, an effect that gives you a discount. No, I'm not going to do this at my base, but instead in the middle of nowhere, since you only need one guy with one job and a bed to start one of these raids. Day 573 and 74 was preparing for this raid. I bought my bow, iron golem's horse, and my new sharpness 5 sword to the battlefield. I gave this guy a job and a bed in a hole, and began the raid. Long story short, it was hell. Even with the armors and tools I have, I was still vulnerable and can die in 3 hits. Not to mention, once you defeat everyone, they descend more in the form of another wave. Fighting Ravengers combined with Vindicators, which is Evokers, Vexes, and regular mobs during all of day 575 was stressful, but by the end of this I won without dying. From the raid I got some Totems of Undying that when held in hand will prevent you from dying when you're about to. Day 576, 77, and 78 was leveling up all the villagers I can while I had the effect, which did make up for the loss of villagers. Day 579 and 580 was at the mob farm getting bone meal. Day 581, the bone meal went towards wheat to breed more sheep. Black, gray, and white wool can be traded to shepherds for emeralds, so I spent days 582 and 84 shearing sheep. I even made fully enchanted shears, something that I'd never done before. I know I've done villager crap for nearly 200 days now, but I believe 10 days worth of resources from all farms combined with the hero of the village effect can finally level up all the villagers in my trading hall. Which is why in the next recording from me waking up on day 585 is me in the villager breeder on day 594. 594 and 595 was preparing for the next raid that I'm going to do. For some reason, during the last raid, I never used my bow throughout the entire thing, which would have been helpful for situations like these. But this time, it was a breeze with the bow. The Vexes were still a pain in the ass, but I was victorious and even got more totems. The entirety of days 597 to 600 was trading for emeralds and spending emeralds as fast as I could. And by the end of it, I leveled up all my villagers, except for the fishermen, but I'll stop here. So now what? I've already built everything and I have the best armor and tools in the game, so there's nothing else I could do. So it's time for the biggest building project of the video. I am going to make a giant mountain over the monster farm, and at the top I'll put a library where I can store librarian villagers with every enchantment in the game. This should take the next 400 days, and yes, I'm going to use Litematica. Now this is my first time terraforming in Minecraft, so please be nice, but this is the mountain that I designed in creative. The entire thing is just a big slice, so it would only look good from the base, but I will add more to it in the future. Day 601, the schematic was put into place, and oh my god, the amount of blocks needed. Just to build the mountain, I need over 25,000 moss and grass blocks with 2,000 light gray wool and 1,600 acacia, aka this many double chests. Day 602, I collected more emeralds for day 603, getting Silk Touch, which is the enchantment that allows me to get grass blocks. I also got a fully enchanted diamond hoe to insta-mine moss. Day 604, I was at the mob farm to repair all my tools. Day 605 was cut short by a thunderstorm that I slept through, so it was day 606 when I went 1,000 blocks away to start harvesting the land of its grass. Because I don't have any portable storage in this world, I can only collect grass up until my inventory is full. This repeats on days 607 and 608. The rest of days 608, 609, and 610 was collecting bone meal for later and repairing my shovel. This process repeats many times up until the night of day 621 when I made the final trip and got done collecting all 25,000 grass. Now time to do it the same with moss. Moss is going to be a little harder though. Grass I could just pick off the ground, while moss I have to bone meal the ground to collect it. That's why I need bone meal, and lots of it. After going 1,000 blocks in the opposite direction on day 623, I got to work. Once again, it was going to be a process of getting moss until inventory full, then going back. Day 625, before continuing on the moss, I instead get all the acacia logs first, and day 626 get smite 5, as if that has to do with anything. Day 627 and 633 was just chopping acacia trees until I collected the 1,600 acacia logs needed. After repairing my hoe and axe, day 634 I was back to the moss grind. Day 636, 1ET spawned in with nothing new, but I realized something that day. Up until this point, I thought brown wool was impossible until 1ET gives me brown dye. But brown sheep can naturally spawn, it's just rare. So I stopped with the moss grind to kill animals until a brown sheep spawned, which happened rather quickly. Day 637, I led the brown sheep to my base, bred it with the sheep, and put them in their pen. Day 638 and 639, I added more color to the pumpkin and sugarcane farms and found out something funny. Shepherds can sell us wool colors that I don't have access to, like cyan wool and green carpets, so I could make the cyan flag. Days 640 and 647 was making myself at home at the moss fields. The grind came to a halt with 1DT selling me cyan dye. I ran to the base to get emeralds and ran back to trade. I also got coral because of vanity. Day 648 was more grinding, and while day 649 I figured it was time to go back home. Because I didn't want to do multiple trips, I thought of using chest boats to drag chests of moss back home using leads. This would be faster if I had known how the new lead mechanics worked, causing me to mix up the leads multiple times. Was finally able to get there on day 650, but it still wasn't enough, so I repaired my hoe and went back on day 651. Days 651 to 665 was just me on the moss grind until I finally had all the moss. I still had to collect the 2,000 light gray wool and the 500 torches, which I accumulated slowly over the course of doing other things like sitting around for the millionth time on day 670, making the brown flag on day 673, and lots of trading. Overall, day 666 to 682 was uneventful, but day 683 I could finally start the building process of the mountain. First couple of days of building was annoying because the slimes, but after I got away from them, it was smooth sailing. By using the carpet on a torch trick, I can light up the mountain without any visible torches. Over time, I can slowly see the mountain growing every time I need a restock in supplies. By day 712, I made it to the level where the library was going to be. The library is a much fancier trading hall with 32 spaces for all the 31 enchantments that aren't useless. In the middle, there's a big open circular room with this nice copper chandelier and a place to put a map. By day 720, the mountain was complete. I spent days 721 and 722 calculating the amount of logs I need to make everything for the library and the staircase leading up to the library. I began with spruce, then oak, then mud, then acacia, then mangrove, then these others are listed on screen. Also on day 745, I got this new mod called Freecam. Day 745 to 750, I crafted and stripped everything I needed to start building. Day 751, I moved everything up there and added this dirt scaffolding so that I don't fall onto the floor. Day 752 to 757 is just me building the library, and day 758 to 760 was building the big staircase. Day 761, I lit up all the land up to the mountain. Day 762, I replaced all light gray carpets into moss. Day 763 to 68, I cleared out all the grass from 700 days ago and made the big circle line with some grass along with it. Day 769, I updated all the maps to show the mountain. It looks like a mess because the moss and grass are very different colors on the map. Day 770 and 771, I expanded the big pond to twice its size to put another farm, the copper farm. The library is missing some things, and that's because everything else needs copper to finish it. This copper farm I'm using is from the Structureless Superflat Archive Discord, a Discord server meant to talk about Structureless Superflat, the name of the challenge I'm doing. This is the copper farm I'm going to use, and it may look like it's meant for the early game, and that's because it is. It's just a pathfinding mob farm attached to a filter to filter alive mobs that can swim and undead mobs that can't, and leads the undead mobs into a water tunnel that slowly converts zombies into drowned for me to kill them in the end. Well, at least that means it's easy to build. At least I thought so. Day 772, I set the schematic in the right place and got all the materials needed. Day 773, I cleared the water and made a hole where the copper farm was going to be. Day 774, I began the construction. Day 775, which is bringing back wood and hoppers before it was cut short by a thunderstorm. Day 776 and 777, I continued building until I was done and added this awful looking storage to it. Day 778, it seems like the mobs are spawning, so let's use Freecam to see if it's working well. And oh god no. The mobs are stuck and the water funnel meant to convert zombies isn't working. The process of trying to make this work between days 779 and 784 was really frustrating, but it all boils down to the specific water streams needed for the funnel part to work is really hard to recreate. Luckily, by day 784, everything was working well. Based on my math, I need over 12,000 copper ingots, or 22 stacks of copper blocks, which is too much. So I went back into the creative world to make a few budget cuts, like getting rid of as many copper blocks as possible, and replacing as many blocks with slabs as possible. This change made the price only over 5,500 copper ingots, or 10 stacks, which should be correct and doable with this farm. Even with the reduced amount, it still took the farm days 785 to 943 to get all the copper, which I didn't record 99% of, but here are some of the things that I did record. Day 800, I was using Freecam when I saw a ton of spiders that spawned, getting me over a stack of string. Day 803, a trident drown spawned outside the farm. I killed it and it's dropped its trident. On hard mode only, whenever you hurt a zombie enough, it spawns in reinforcements around you. So every time I hit a drowned, it spawns in reinforcements outside the farm, and there's a chance one of those reinforcements spawn with a trident. Also, that same day, I got my first stack of blocks. Day 818, I got my second. Day 835, I starved because repeatedly hitting mobs drains hunger, and I left my computer alone for too long. It was a struggle getting my stuff back with all the drowns, but I was able to, and at some point got my third stack. Day 839 was recorded on Halloween, so mobs spawned with pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns on their head. Because these are rare mob variants that only spawn on this day, I collected a few for me to keep. Day 849, I got my fourth stack. I was back at base days 859 to 860 to restock on food. Day 868, the fifth stack was acquired. Day 884, I got another trident and the sixth stack. Day 895, I saw on Freecam 1ET spawned in on the farm, who sowed most importantly pale oak saplings, a new wood type, and brown dye. Day 899, I recorded the moment, it became day 900 where I got my 7th stack. Day 905, yet another 1ET spawned who sold dark oak saplings, yet another wood type. Day 913, we don't talk about day 913, but it is the day I got my 8th stack. Day 928, I got my 9th stack, and day 943, I got the final 10th stack. I bought all my treasures home, including stuff like redstone and glowstone from witches. I put the new schematic of the library in place. Day 945, I used the glowstone I got to add it to the sheep pens to better light them up. 1ET spawned at my house selling me birch saplings and ice. Day 946, I crafted the exact amount of every copper block I need to oxidize. In Minecraft, just like in real life, copper oxidizes over time in 4 stages. Because it takes time, I just place them near each other in the big pond while I get other materials. Because copper will oxidize no matter what, they might oxidize in the build. However, there's a way to prevent that, which is by applying honeycomb to make it wax so it will never oxidize. Honeycomb can be formed by shearing beehives after the bees spent a day collecting honey. The only way to get beehives is when a tree has a 5% chance of growing one when next to a flower. I got Silk Touch on my pickaxe day 947 to collect beehives for a honeycomb farm. Funnily enough, I can just collect beehives while the bees are still in there. Day 949, I checked the wiki to see how long it takes for copper to oxidize when it said each block needs to be 4 blocks apart. So this layout I did wouldn't work. It was an easy fix, but it did take 2 days to break and lay out everything evenly. Days 951 to 54, I collected more beehives, making sure that there are 3 bees per hive, and once I collected 21 of them, I made the honeycomb farm. Days 955 to 58, I put the librarians in the library, at least a few enchantments I already had, while the honeycomb farm was turning in the background, ready for me to harvest at night. Day 959 and 960, I got more emeralds, a lot more emeralds to buy the other 20 plus enchantments. Day 961, I went to the breeder to get more enchantments and knocked Infinity, Flame, Frostwalker 2, Respiration 3, and Riptide 3 off the list. Day 962, I tried getting more, but after getting the same ones and getting low level ones, I just gave up. Day 964, I collected some of the copper that had fully oxidized to add it to the build on days 965 and 966. Day 967 was just playing around with Freecam and this new mod that gave me a top-down map of the world. Day 968 to 970, I expanded my enchantment collection by getting Thorns 3, Knockback 2, Lure 3, Loyalty 3, Multi-Shot, Quick Charge 3, Sweeping Edge 3, Power 5, and Aqua Affinity. Day 971, I added Aqua Affinity to my helmet and spent the next 3 days moving the new villagers into the library. Day 975, I got more emeralds because I still needed a few more enchantments when I realized all my villagers in the carrot farm turned into witches. When a villager is struck by lightning, they can turn into witches. A thunderstorm did happen on day 970, but the fact that it happened naturally is crazy and unlucky. Days 976 and 977 was getting the final enchantments. Fire Aspect 2, Fortune 3, Feather Falling 4, Luck of the Sea 3, Piercing 4, and Punch 2. Day 978 was putting all the new villagers in the library, completing our enchantment collection. I got all the honeycomb so that on day 979, I can put all the regular copper blocks. Day 980, I collected the rest of the copper blocks. You can right click an oxidized block with an axe to make it a previous oxidation state, so that's what I did day 981, and realized something. I didn't have enough. I didn't need 10 stacks worth of copper blocks. I needed like 12 stacks, or around 7,000 copper ingots. Day 982, I ran around and considered going back to a backup, but I came too far. I'll get the rest in 2,000 days. So I just used what I had to finish as much as I could. Day 983, I got more enchantments to make a Riptide and Channeling Tridents. These two are game changers because Riptide, if you're in water, can be used to launch yourself in the air, and Channeling can be used to strike mobs during thunderstorms. Day 984, because I have nothing else to do anymore, I made the best fishing rod. Day 985, I made the best crossbow. Day 986, I made a big tower in the sky for once day 1000 arrives. That'll be important later. Day 987 was me running around and doing random stuff. Day 988, I figured I'd use some of those pale and dark oak trees, which I used to improve my house more. Day 989, I kept doing more stuff with dark oak. Day 990, I repaired the creeper holes nearby and added this path to the library. Day 991, I copied all the maps of my house for me to put them in the library. Day 992. Day 993, I did random things, same with day 994 and 995. By day 996, I was just waiting there in the house, waiting for day 999. That day, I went up to the top of this water pillar where I put a light blue stained glass at sky limit, waiting for day 1000 while looking at my base from over 380 blocks in the sky. Night rolled around, and as I was looking at my base, I saw pink in the sky as the sunrise began to rise. just not the sun. You can't see it because it's raining. And as the clock rolled to 6 a.m., I don't know what this clock is, it hit day 1000. I spent 1000 days on this world.